What's up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. So a long time ago, even before I became an active YouTuber again, I always said that if I ever made another YouTube channel, I would name myself after my all-time favorite superhero since I was a wee Blerd, Daredevil. Hence the name, Blerd without fear. Black plus nerd minus fear times love of Daredevil, and boom, magic happened. But I've never really done videos focused on Daredevil, mostly because his stories are so personal to me that I always kind of felt I would just make them more than what they really are, that I would just fanboy about them. Well, I've changed my mind. With Daredevil Season 3 less than 2 weeks away, I'm ready to talk about the story arc written by Frank Miller that seems to heavily inspire this year's season of Daredevil. Daredevil Born Again. But before we get started, if this is your first time checking out my channel and you want to see more awesome videos like this one, it only takes 2 clicks to become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. Click. The first thing you really need to know about Daredevil Born Again is that this is a story arc that dropped back in 1986, penciled by David Mazzucchelli and written by Frank Miller. This is a complete and total breakdown of not just Matt Murdock's life, but his run as Daredevil, the man without fear, and it's all thanks to Daredevil's greatest foe of all time, Karen Page. Daredevil's long-time on-again, off-again main squeeze. I'm joking, but in all seriousness, she becomes a weapon against the Devil of Hell's Kitchen when Matt Murdock reveals to her that he is in fact Daredevil in Daredevil issue number 57. This put a major strain on their relationship, and she even wound up leaving Matt back in Daredevil number 86 and went on to pursue a career as an actress. So what could she do to Daredevil that's so bad? Well, during that 14-year publication time stretch where she was gone from Matt Murdock's life, she fell in with a bad crowd, got strung out on heroin, and even fell into doing porn to support her habit. Eventually, she wound up talking to the wrong people, and she became so strung out that she'd do anything for a hit. Anything, including giving up Daredevil's secret identity just to get another fix. Unfortunately, the drug dealer she spills the beans to happens to be in Kingpin's pocket, so he totally doesn't tell Kingpin shit. Psych. Kingpin, now knowing the true name of Daredevil, begins putting the squeeze on Matt Murdock's life over the course of 6 long and grueling months, making his mortgage payments disappear, causing the bank to foreclose on him, fucking with his tax records, causing him to get audited by the IRS. If that's not enough, Kingpin gets him disbarred as a lawyer thanks to paying off a cop to testify that he saw Matt Murdock paying off witnesses for favorable testimonies. His bank accounts are now frozen, and if that weren't enough, he's become distanced from his longtime friends Foggy Nelson and Ben Urich, and his latest girlfriend Sid dumps him because he's been MIA so much. Not only that, Gloriana, one of his other kind of pseudo on-again, off-again girlfriends, has now run off with Foggy Nelson. When it rains, it pours, but just because Matt's life is shit doesn't mean Daredevil can't get something done, right? So he goes after Nick Manolis, the cop who testified against him, to find out why he lied, and thanks to his heightened senses, he immediately knows this man is guilty as the sin he committed, but there's no way this guy will tell who put him up to it. Which should have been Matt's first clue to the culprit, but he still doesn't even consider Kingpin is to blame. And now that he's still without any leads, things get even worse. His phone's been disconnected, and his power's been cut off. All the while, Kingpin is watching, smiling, laughing, watching Matt Murdock turn into a more violent, unhinged, unreasonable, and embarrassingly broken Daredevil. A man who's desperate. Instead of Matt Murdock being a man without fear, Kingpin has made him a man without hope. Kingpin even muses torturing Matt Murdock further by offering him a job, all the while making sure no one else will hire him. The one bullet Matt Murdock managed to dodge in Kingpin's plans was jail time, but Kingpin isn't done yet. He adds fuel to the fire, literally, blowing up Matt's apartment right as he walks up to it, and that's when he finally realizes who's behind it: Wilson Fisk. Something that we the readers know, But Matt is only just now finding out. But there's nothing he can do about it. Not now. He's been so broken now that he can't even muster the energy to do anything. He's scraping by, literally. With only $10 to his name, he barely finds a shithole roach motel that he can even stay in and still have money for a cup of coffee. And all he can do is just lay there, get up, attempt to leave, and just lay back down and go back to sleep, wallowing in his own misery. All the while, Kingpin's grin grows wider and wider. He's still keeping tabs on Matt's personal life, even after all this, taking pleasure in Matt's lack of desire to even stop a simple mugging from happening right in front of him, only acting when he's personally attacked by the robbers himself, something that the Matt Murdock of 6 months ago would have broken up before it even started. But this isn't our Matt Murdock. Eventually, Matt works up the willpower to confront the Kingpin, not as Daredevil, but as Matt Murdock. And oddly enough, Kingpin has been expecting him. In fact, he's surprised it took him this long to come and see him himself. They share no words, only fist and fury. And though Matt gives almost as good as he gets, Kingpin is too much for this broken version of Matt Murdock, because he hasn't lost everything yet. Kingpin could have killed him, he wanted to, but he felt framing Matt as a drunk who stole a taxi and drove it to the bottom of the East River would be even better. And after weeks of no word, Kingpin still wonders if Daredevil is still down there, trapped, alone, and very dead. Until he finally gets word that the cab was recovered, but no one was inside, and this is the moment where Kingpin's long game of cat and mouse begins to fold back against him, pushing what was once a simple revenge plot into a wanton obsession. All the while, everyone in Matt's life are going through this of their own. Karen, stranded in South America, off the junk, mostly and vaguely sober-ish, realizes the gravity of what she's done after hired killers are trying to end her life, causing her to run for it, eventually leading her from one bad situation to another, until eventually she winds up with a glorified drug dealer and quotey fingers not pimp named Paolo, who beats her and likely rapes her. But so long as he takes her back to New York, she's willing to endure. Yeesh. She reconnects with Foggy, but the one she was really looking for was Matt. And with Paolo, her crazed quotey fingers not pimp, hunting her down, things just get weird. Foggy has moved on with his life, unwittingly working for Wilson Fisk and pushing up on Matt's pseudo-ex-girlfriend Gloriana. Ben Urich, on the other hand, is caught up in the same mystery Matt is. He begins investigating the cop who lied about Matt, and it leads to Ben learning that Officer Manolis had a son who was sick, and Kingpin was footing the bill to get him the best treatments and a shot at living, if he gave a false testimony. But now that his son has died anyway, he wants to make things right and tell the truth to Ben Urich. But before he can do that, all Ben winds up doing is watching the cop get beaten nearly to death in front of him by the most evil lunch lady I've ever seen in my life, who even goes as far as to break Ben's hand as a reminder to forget the name of Matt Murdock. Ben is so shook that he becomes a walking zombie for weeks, struggling to even write a puff piece a tabloid would actually publish. And even once the cop finally is well enough to speak and still wants to tell his side of the story to Ben, the evil lunch lady returns and kills him over the phone while Ben can do nothing but listen in shock and horror, making Ben realize that he truly does need to forget the name Matt Murdock. But all it does is galvanize him into going after the truth even harder. Since the cab incident, Matt is back with literally nowhere he can go that he wants to go. He winds up on the streets living the hobo life until eventually he winds up getting stabbed by Turk Barrett, leading to his bleeding out and being found by Sister Maggie, a nun from a local mission, taking him in and nursing him back to health. It doesn't take long for Matt to realize who the woman really is. She has the same voice and same heartbeat that he remembers from the day of his accident that caused him to go blind and gain his powers in the first place. And for the first time in months, Daredevil finally has a reason to smile, because when he asks Maggie if she is his mother, he can tell when she says no that she's lying. Finding his birth mother is a big deal for him, especially considering how Frank Miller retconned Matt's father from a loving father to a drunkard piece of shit. And with this information, it actually gets him motivated enough to get moving again. He begins tailing his friends, Ben Urich, Foggy Nelson, Melvin Potter, but never approaching them directly, just watching to make sure they're okay, like the guardian devil that he is. But this leads to him catching the evil lunch lady trying to kill Ben and his wife and helping them from the shadows. He even overhears a phone conversation between Ben and Melvin Potter that Kingpin wants Melvin to recreate Daredevil's suit. So Matt goes to him and tells Melvin to do it anyway. Because what Kingpin plans to do is let some nutcase out of Ravencroft, the Arkham Asylum of the Marvel Universe, and dress him up as Daredevil and let him go on a killing spree, all in an attempt to disgrace Daredevil in the public eye. But this whack job doesn't get the opportunity to do anything other than kill one of Kingpin's men because Daredevil was waiting on him, beating the brakes off the guy, recovering the suit, and leaving him booty-ass naked in the snow. And even saves Karen from her crazy quotey fingers not pimp in the process, leading to Matt helping her get off the junk and them moving in together. All this time, Kingpin is starting to crack, and even his fellow crime bosses and underlings are starting to notice. He's losing their respect, their loyalty, but he still has their fear. For now. He's so desperate that he hires Nuke, a crazed experiment gone all the way wrong, what was supposed to be an attempt to recreate the super soldier program that birthed Captain America, turned out the unpredictable and villainous Nuke. And Nuke is just a walking liability, but Kingpin doesn't care. He wants results. Subtlety is no longer an option. Why use a scalpel when you can use a sledgehammer? And Kingpin, ever the master manipulator, preys on Nuke's misplaced sense of patriotism, even playing on some themes that are eerily relevant today. How Kingpin paints the media, the Fourth Estate, as the enemy of patriotism, goading Nuke into being even more unhinged than he already was. And when Nuke sets foot in Hell's Kitchen, guns blazing, rocket launchers launching, collateral damage, and innocent casualties left and right. He even unwittingly blows up Daredevil's new apartment with Karen Page inside of it. She lives, but only barely, and Matt leaps into action as Daredevil to face Nuke one-on-one. But Daredevil is no match for Nuke on any day of the week. Between his cybernetically enhanced bone structure, incredibly durable plastic skin, and his enhanced strength and durability that, well, as of this point in publication, was thanks to the red pills that he took. But during Wolverine Origins, this got retconned, so these really have no effect. But back in '86, they did, and for good measure, Nuke is souped up on these things. He's so amped up that Daredevil's pressure points have no effect. He can't even break Nuke's bones, and Nuke overall is just too tough for the usual methods. But rooftops can be any man's weakness, and Daredevil uses them, kicking him from the rooftop they were doing battle on down to the electrical wiring hanging below. And then eventually, a fast stop the hard way into a burning police car. And just when Daredevil's got him on the ropes, the Avengers stroll in and take Nuke into custody, something that doesn't sit well with Matt. But when Captain America is tracking Matt down later, Matt reveals who Nuke was working for, and Cap at first wants to believe the best in all Americans because it's just who he is, but Matt's words make him question. And with Nuke's face plastered all over the papers, thanks to Ben Urich and Matt's pseudo-ex-girlfriend Gloriana taking pictures of him, Kingpin wants this taken care of, but before his paid-off generals can do anything, Cap comes barging in demanding answers. This scene I was actually not even going to talk about in this video, but I included it because it has the line I love so much. The line that defined Captain America to me when I was a kid. And a line Ta-Nehisi Coates resurrected in the current Marvel Fresh Start run of Captain America. I'm loyal to nothing, General, except the dream. That is my Captain America. Captain America refuses to take no for an answer when he questions the General about Nuke, and eventually does some detective work of his own and discovers Nuke's origins buried in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s database, leading to him confronting Nuke himself and rendering him unconscious by running him out of damn near the top floor of S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. But Daredevil intercepts them, taking Nuke from Captain America's custody and gift wrap delivering him to the Daily Bugle, plastering Nuke's face and his story all over the papers, even taking a testimony from one of Kingpin's hired guns who drops a dime on Fisk, letting the world know that Wilson Fisk hired Nuke himself, and that he was responsible for Nuke being in Hell's Kitchen and causing all the destruction and death that happened that day, leading to criminals, paid off police, and various other ne'er-do-wells coming clean and name-dropping Wilson Fisk and his criminal enterprises, causing his business ventures to stall and dozens of charges being brought against him. And Wilson Fisk dodges most of them because Kingpin, but for a little while, Matt Murdock has taken something away from Wilson Fisk in much the same way Wilson Fisk took everything from him. He took away his anonymity, his public face, the loyalty of his criminal underlings, the respect, and more importantly, the fear of his criminal peers. And make no mistake, there's no way Kingpin won't be holding on to that receipt. And in the end, it's all over. Daredevil walks off into the sunset with Karen Page, with her being clean off of heroin and regretting that she ever gave up Matt Murdock's secret in the first place, and Daredevil giving her a second chance and them continuing on their relationship, for better or worse. Spoiler alert, it doesn't last long. If I remember correctly, they broke up almost 2 years to the date from the time this book came out. But anyways, that's Daredevil Born Again, and it's a really interesting story. It's one of those situations where I feel like I love this story, but I also recognize that a lot of the elements in it and the way Frank Miller writes it does not hold up well today, because especially when you know what you know about Frank Miller now, that he hates women, he's kind of a mean and hateful and just not okay person. But I mean, at the end of the day, I still appreciate it because he did technically give the world the Daredevil that we have today, and is likely the reason why Daredevil has stood the test of time now, because of changes that he made directly to the character. He did for Daredevil what he did for Batman with The Dark Knight Returns, only Daredevil's popularity didn't skyrocket like Batman's did, but the way we perceive Daredevil today is largely due to the way Frank Miller portrayed him. Now, and I can go ahead and tell you right now, even though Daredevil Season 3 is adapting the storyline, they're not adapting it directly, so you're not going to see any of the stuff with Karen Page. That's not going to be in there. I don't even think they're even going to allude to anything even close to that in there. Ben Urich, spoiler alert if you haven't watched Daredevil Season 1, is already dead in the Netflix show. But we definitely do know that the whole costume story arc in Born Again is going to be carried over. We're probably going to see some of the story arcs with Foggy Nelson carried over. There is no Gloriana on the TV show, but I'm pretty sure they're going to use Karen as a stand-in for her, especially since she works as a journalist now. And I'm pretty positive we won't see Nuke, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, or any other Avenger for that matter. But I think the core themes of Daredevil Born Again will be there. You can even tell by the trailers that we've seen so far that this is exactly the case. So I'm looking forward to it. I love this story arc, and I would love to know what you think about Daredevil Born Again. Sound off in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, Hulk smash that like button. And if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers, and tap that bell so you know when I post up. And if you want to become one of Earth's mightiest patrons as well, swing on over by patreon.com/blerdwithoutfear. And if you chuck in a buck, you can get some exclusive content. And if you don't want to become one of Earth's mightiest patrons, that's fine too. Hey, all I ask is that you like this video and share it with your friends. And who knows, maybe they'll become some of Earth's mightiest subscribers too. Anyways, thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and while you're here, go ahead and check out some of these other videos I got floating around here. But until next time, Plus Ultra!